my question if you want me to.
No, you're good. So, how- it really depends. Like if the flooring is really good and it looks nice and it's an historical area and a lot of the homes in that area are old and it's a common thing, then keep the flooring in there. But if it's an area where the properties are they're old, yeah, but when you're looking at the renovations and it's common that those floorings are replaced, then again, I would replace them uh, for that reason because like you're looking at for sure if you've got comps in that area, they're solid ARV comps. And you want to make your subject property as relative to those properties to ensure you're getting a similar ARV. Otherwise, I wouldn't, if I was looking at it and ours had like really beautiful red mahogany type floors and they're in really good condition, um, but all these other ARV comps are very similar properties, very comparable, but their flooring was completely redone. I would, I couldn't really justify, I couldn't justify or having the expectation that our property is going to sell for as much as those properties did, just because of the flooring, because it is more original. Um, so it could be a really big hit or miss, right? So like if you're in a historical area, vast majority of the times they're going to leave that flooring in place. And so in that
That's
case, yeah, I would leave it.
that's what this one says. It says it's in the downtown historical, which I have not done comps on it. I just happened to find it and started looking throughout the house. And
Mhm.
I see that they have really pretty, hardwood floors in there. That's why I was curious. But it says it's in the downtown historical district.
Does it have like, is the house a Victorian?
Let me look. Hold on. It's no, not really. Um, Not the type of Victorian, I would think.
Hmm.
Hold on, I'm gonna put the address over here. God dang it.
Off First Street, McKinney. Let's check it out. Ooh,
And it's been on 74 days.
okay.
And it says it has a detached garage too.
How did I?
It has a pretty porch on it. But the ceiling in the kitchen is whew, that is definitely different.
Okay. Let's see here. Two, 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 two. Interesting. How do I? Oh, I keep doing that. I don't know why I keep doing that. Okay, so let me check it out. So let me go ahead and share screen. Okay. Can y'all see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so where is it at? Where is it? There it is. Okay. Oh man, y'all can see it, but I can't see it over here. What the heck? Well, dang it. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. All right, let's go. Tax. Actually. Mm, Been listed since December, so it's probably overpriced. Oof. No, I would replace it 100%. That's all scuffed up. Yeah.
That's what I
It's,
was saying. Like, I don't know how much it costs to refinish floors like that. That's why I was asking.
yeah. Yeah, I will go ahead and replace it up, or just replace it.
Hmm.
That too. Yeah.
Windows need to be replaced.
PropStream has a good tool called Blue Hammer,
Mhm.
Savannah.
Hmm.
You can try messing with that a little bit. I think you just have to
Can you though?
like find out the parameters or whatever. I mean, you can Google what like a typical floor you'd be looking for, and then add it in there with the square footage.
Okay.
Beauty. Open that. Okay. Don't want to look at that, but this is pretty good. Can look at all that. Okay. Let's see. It's 405, right?
Yeah.
Listed for 550. Good night. Yeah, 75 days on market. Way overpriced. Okay, it's a 3-1. And it's a 3-1. Yeah, dude, nobody's gonna pay $500,000 for a 3-bed, 1 bath.
Yeah. 3-1, a 2-car, detached garage,
Built
and
in
it's 1609.
Yeah, they're listing that almost as much as this 2,500 square foot 5-bed, 3-bath property. That's a Victorian.
Yeah, it's super pretty. That's what I was saying. That's why I was like, it's not a Victorian like I would know. Oh God,
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
my body language did not work on that one. And this one already sold. That one
Yeah, it sold after 144 days on market.
for how much?
560. So that
Oh,
it just sold this early this month for 560, and it was originally listed at 639. Let's see. Yeah, this one 1945, 1232, 465. Okay. This is nice. This is really nice.
that is cute.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about that carpet, but
Mm-mm.
Is it normal for houses not to come with a refrigerator and stove in Texas?
just refrigerator. Typically, the stove will be in place. But yeah, it's pretty common. But yeah, this is nice. Like, this is nice. This is a nice little property. Um, so I would look at that as a comp. That's good. So January 465. It's a lot small. Well, is it a lot smaller?
This one's 1609.
Yeah, so it's really not too bad. It's a little bit smaller, but not a lot smaller. But it is a 3-2. Ours is a 3-1. So there's that. You could convert it to a 3-2 and possibly expect a little bit more than 465 for it. Um, Let me check this one because this is a 20. This one didn't sell for as much because it's not like as historical as the other properties. I can say that now, and it's also pretty. Um,
Plain.
yeah. So no, that one doesn't work. This one went for 379.5. Mm. Mm. Yeah, no, it's no go. Two different flooring types. Two different floor types. Three different floor types.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a no go. 550. I think 550 is just way too much. Um, I'd probably put it at maybe five. Say five would be pretty reasonable. Let's see. 15 last year. It's good activity. This one's a 3-1, 425. A little bit smaller. This is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is nice. How many days on market has this been sitting? 10 days. Yeah. This property, I guarantee this property is going to sell before the subject property. Not because of price, but because of one property condition. It's just a lot nicer. So I think they priced that one pretty well. All right, let's see. 475, a 2-2. Interesting. Yeah, that's a no-go. That's very interesting how that sold for so much, though.
Slipped through the cracks, man. That one slipped through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. 360. Yeah. 9 days on market. Good night. 360. Okay.
Oh, there was a foreclosure too.
Mm. Not 465. This is probably the best comp here, I would say. Yeah. Um, 34 days on market. What was originally listed at 475, so it came down to 465. Sold in January. And about 400 square feet smaller. Yeah, I would probably put it at like 5.
Okay.
I think 5 is good. This is the historical, so we do it at 75, 1,600 square feet. So I'll probably do about 50 for it. So about 325. So realistically, like 305.
To cash the seller?
Yep. That's what I would offer the sellers, about 305.
And you said rehab about 50?
Yeah.
And you did that at 0.75 or 0.7?
I did 0.75 because of the area.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, cool.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. Boom, what's up, brother? You got any questions?
No questions. I'm just watching. When I eat a bowl of cereal, I put it on pause.
Love it. Love it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess we're like, do y'all have any questions? It could be about anything. It could be real estate related. It could be marketing related. It could be, I guess anything pertaining to this industry, really.
So you want to see the same floors in the main area, but in like the bedrooms, it could have carpets, or say, like each room has somewhat a different scheme. It wouldn't be the same floor type in every room.
It's more ideal to have uniformity throughout the property. So if you've got like vinyl or wood or laminate, you want to make sure like it's all uniform, right? So like the main living area, the hallways, and then in the rooms, if you can have the same flooring type in the rooms, just ensure that it's the same floor type in every single room. You don't want to have, like, let's say it's a 3-bed. You don't want to have like laminate and wood, or laminate or wood in 2 beds and carpet in the other. It's just a little weird. So if you're going to do carpet, do carpet. If you're going to do the flooring as the rest of the house, do the flooring as the rest of the house. But you want to have uniformity, so it all matches and flows.
Okay.
Yep. Cool. Daniel, what about you, man? You got any questions?
Yeah. Guess my question is, as far as lead generation,
Mhm.
are you guys still implementing cold calling, SMS? What are you guys doing? Because you're saying you do direct to seller mostly, right?
Uh, for the most part, it's a good mixture, man. I work with a lot. I have like a good agent outreach, so I get a lot of stuff coming in from agents directly.
Mm-hmm.
I've also got a lot of stuff coming in from other wholesalers as well. So it just kind of really depends. I haven't done as I used to be very heavily focused only on direct to seller. What I found is it's not complicated, but it's a little bit more difficult, and it's a lot more costly to get direct to seller leads than it is to build a really good network with agents or other wholesalers, and working with them. If you can do one deal with an agent, they're going to keep coming to you. If you can do it one deal with the wholesaler and help them get the deals to the closing team, they're probably going to keep coming to you as well. So those would be really good. Um, those would be really good. What's it called? There we go. Those would be really good ways to generate leads. But if you're doing like direct to seller leads, you can do cold calling. Yeah, cold calling. There's not anything wrong with it. It just kind of depends on where you want to focus a lot of your time. So I'm a big believer in quality over quantity. I'd rather have really good quality conversations than spend all day making 600 calls and
Right.
only have like 1 or 2 solid actual quality. Um, so it just depends on kind of where you want to devote your time there. But cold calling, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not dead. I think cold callings are still really pretty good strategy to generate leads. It just takes a little bit more time. You've got, man, there's a lot of ways to generate leads, dude.
Well, because I shifted over to direct to agent now,
Mhm.
because I've always done direct to seller, cold calling, SMS, and all that. But in the last year, I wouldn't say it's dead. It's just more loophole, more barriers you got to jump like
Yeah,
over now. With all the companies, cell phone companies tracking everything and spamming everything, and
the
uh,
regulations. Mhm.
so I just wanted to. The reason I asked was just want to make sure that I'm focusing on the right thing, right? Because it is the lower hanging fruit, I guess, with MLS listings and agents. But what I have noticed is, like you're saying, the relationships you build with an agent, if you can get through to the finish line with one of them, opens up way many more doors, because then they're going to start bringing you more things, right?
Yeah,
Uh, but but yeah, that's why I was asking, because I thought you're just doing, if you're doing just direct to seller, what's been working for you? Because yeah, I mean, in the last year, um, I wasn't able to have a lot of quality conversations, and the VAs aren't cheap.
yep.
Obviously, buying and skip tracing massive amounts of lists or niche lists, it's not cheap if you're
Yeah,
doing it every other week.
yeah.
So, all right.
I would, I would say for direct to seller, the most effective thing I think I would say is definitely going to be social media. So like using or building a really good website or a landing page to collect prospect information for anybody that's looking to sell a house, or part ways with their property, and just having really good SEO in place is really key. And then using Facebook marketing as a tool is really great as well. I do believe Facebook marketing is pretty essential. and it's not really being tapped into as it should be. So I think there's a lot of potential in Facebook marketing for the most part. Google PPC, I've heard good things, but for the most part, I've always had negative experiences with it. We spent 12 grand and got 3 leads out of it, man.
Yes.
And 2 of the leads were other wholesalers who I don't have a problem with, but if your deal is very poorly underwritten and even more poorly negotiated, it's going to be very difficult to help you move that deal. So it just didn't work. And then the other lead was just a bot. So that was a no-go. So 12 grand down the drain, basically. So not a big fan of PPC. That Facebook marketing is pretty good. I think that would be like the best channel to generate some direct to seller leads. Now, if you kind of want to wing it, there's quite a bit of companies out there that you can use that sell leads that they get from the ads that they run. You got ispeedtolead.com is one of those companies. One of the big promoters there is like RJ Bates the third. He's a really big promoter for them. But I don't know. I've never tried it, so I can't really say. And then you've
I
got
definitely want to try those one day, but I just kind of like PPC, like you got to have like a substantial deal flow in order to be able to tap into, because they are expensive, and you got to be able to afford those. You know, I believe there's going to be, if you stay consistent with them, with those, you'll have, good months of getting some good leads, but that it'll take that 1 month or just starting out where you don't get anything, and just like you're saying, you throw 12 grand down the drain, then you're gonna like, you're gonna put a stop on that real quick, right? Because you're like, oh crap, I don't want to lose another 5 grand, 6 grand, or whatever. So I think eventually, like, I know those work. So I know people that are using them, but they have bigger pockets. You know what I mean? To keep buying them. I definitely do want to get into that eventually one day, especially inbound leads that are already nice and nurtured for you, and you can just go in and close them, but they're going to come at a price.
right, but that's also a big misconception too. So don't ever assume just because you've got inbound leads that they're going to be closable. And the reason I'm saying that is because that's a big, I guess, trap that a lot of people fall into, is they have this idea like, hey, I'm getting all these inbound leads, I'm going to have a lot more conversions. It's not true. You could have 100 inbound leads, but dude, if you don't know how to talk to them, anybody, right? So that's why it's like sales and negotiations really is key. It really is. And like the call we had earlier, it could be used both for sellers, but it's also it's used for business to business. So to give you a little bit of like or not a backstory, but an idea, the coach and mentoring I got for the sales and negotiations cost $30,000. It's expensive. It's very expensive. But that group also teaches all kinds of industries all over the world, and Google is actually one of their biggest clients. So they do that. Like, this is what they do, right? And the intro for the call that we were practicing, it's used for business to business. They do real estate's one. I think real estate is like the third or fourth largest industry that they teach. And this is how this is what they teach. Like, this is how they instruct. Well, I don't say instruct, but this is how they coach as far as making those calls. So it's like, it works, man. But yeah, so like, don't ever make the assumption that because you have an inbound lead, they're going to be closable. Because at the end of the day, that person may just be curious as to finding out some more information.
Yeah, you get a lot of tire kickers too, just trying to find out how much their house is worth.
Yep.
Which is where it goes hand in hand with, like, all right, you get a big payout, but you could also have a big loss if you don't get anything good.
Yeah, 100%. So just keep that in mind, right?
Yeah.
Don't ever assume it. And then also a big thing too that's really important is like if you're able to detach yourself from the actual sell itself and just focus on providing that service up front at hand, one, then that conversation is going to come a lot more naturally. And two, you're going to find that you're actually going to be doing a lot more deals. It's kind of weird how it works out, but it works out. So yeah, I guess does that answer that
Yeah.
kind of?
No, absolutely. What are you using to keep organized? You on some certain CRM, or you kind of just
Yeah.
winging it?
No, never wing it. You never want to wing it. We had talked about this earlier this morning, very briefly, but there's 4 pillars to have a very successful wholesale business or a very successful real estate business. Really, just any kind of business. One is acquisitions, talent, which is putting the right people in the right seat. So you want to make sure you get the right people in the right seat. 2 is financial management. You need to make sure that you fully understand what is going on financially within your business and understanding like your overhead, your return on investment, all that good stuff. Thirdly, you have system implementations. System implementations consist of 2 things, hard and soft systems. Your hard systems are going to consist of like SOPs. SOPs are very important for everything that you do. So these are like your how-tos, right? So how to do this, so how to upload a lead into the CRM, how to upload a new contact into the CRM, how to sign a document via DocuSign or PandaDoc. Like these are your how-tos. And then it also breaks down your KPIs. So like your key performance indicators. Those are also very important as well because that's what keeps you accountable. And then you got your soft systems. Your soft systems are going to include CRMs. It's basically all your tools that you need on a daily basis in order to perform your daily tasks both efficiently and effectively. So for a CRM, there's several good ones out there. You've got Close. Close is really good. You've got Salesforce. Salesforce is good. You got Simple Send. We are actually transitioning to use Simple Send. Simple Send is really good. It's kind of like Close but cheaper. And then you got Airtable. Airtable is really nice. It's a really good tool to use, and it's free. And you can invite up to 5 members to use it. So you can share that specific base. They call it a base. You can share that specific base or invite up to 5 people to work within that base for free. And it's very customizable and user friendly. So Airtable is really great. If you have a small team or if you're doing it yourself, mainly because it's free and it's awesome. But other than that, I would recommend Close and Simple Send. So I looked into the one we're about to convert to, which is Simple Send. Really great. So I highly encourage those. I would stay away from Podio. Not a big fan of Podio. I would stay away from Already Simply. It is trash, if I'm being honest. Let's see, Podio, Already Simply. Ooh, what else would I stay away from? I would not use batch leads. I would not use PropStream.
Yeah, I don't like the CRMs that come with like the dialers or the list pulling services and all that.
Yeah, I wouldn't use any of those. So if you're balling on a budget, Airtable is the way to go.
Airtable.
Yep. Yeah, Airtable will be the way to go. You can do a bunch of stuff with Airtable. Upload documents, you can upload photos, you can upload links, you can create packets. Like it's really, really nice of a tool to use. So definitely Airtable. Yep.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah, bro. Yes, sir. Mariela, you got any questions? Good to go. Do y'all have any questions regarding like contract terms or how to write a contract? What to negotiate, what to look for, what to stay away from?
I
No?
was just looking up at Airtable because it's new to me.
You'll like it. I think you'll like it. I would sign up for it, one, because it's free, and then two, you're able to play with it. And it's integratable too. You can integrate it with a few things. So I was using Airtable with Zapier when I was running my Facebook leads, falling on a budget.
Here you go.
So 100%. But that's pretty much all. What's up?
I'll ask you a question that I've always had in mind. I've talked to Mariella about it several times. So when dealing when taking these properties over, subject to, I know a lot of title companies don't do them, and it depends on the state. And some you have to self-perform, so some you don't. Have you had any experience taking some down where one, obviously let's say that the sellers are trying to get into another FHA, maybe not now, like, disclose, right? Hey, look, you might not be able to get into one the next year or whatever, but if after 12 months you can or whatever. Have you dealt with people that needed to get into one right then and there? Two, have you dealt with some that, because a lot of these, they always come with down payment assistance, right? And then the down payment assistance can vary, right? Where it's like you got 3 years to pay it off, 5 years to pay it off. If you pay anything before then, you'll get a penalty fee. But every year that goes, that penalty fee gets lower. Have you dealt with any of that stuff and how to go about it?
I have not ran into that myself. But then again, I've only done a handful of like sub two. I haven't done like Paces up there when it comes to sub two. There's a guy in San Antonio that is very well known for doing sub two. Like this dude has done almost 500 deals sub two alone. He's constantly buying them on a daily basis. So I'm sure he's seen everything under the sun. But I can't say that I have. I don't think I've ever ran into that issue. Now,
What about wraps? Have you done wraps before?
Done a wrap, yeah.
You for
Don't do it
homestead
often, I will tell you that. I don't do it often, but I've done one before. But what was your question?
Well, no, it's just because here, Texas is there's always a perfect storm in Texas, right? Like it's either you can't do long-term rentals because of the taxes, they kill that cash flow, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be up there, and then they'll either be that, it'll be that, plus they'll be FHA, plus they have down payment assistance, so it's like you can make these deals happen, but the only way they can work would be on a wrap. And then obviously in Texas, like you got to deal with all the issues that come with executory contracts in Texas, where you can do them, but you got to jump through a lot more hoops to get them done and all that stuff. So I guess in the area of calling agents and trying to make deals happen with low equity deals, you do come across these a lot, right? Where it's like, hey, they're not going to cash flow as long. I mean, half of the times that I've seen people post sub twos and stuff, either in the sub two Facebook or anywhere else, they're usually trying, when they're coming from Texas, they're trying to sell them as like, hey, this could be a great midterm rental or a great Airbnb or whatever. Does not cash flow as long-term rental or for homestead buyer, so it's obvious that a lot more properties in Texas fall under that category, right? Where they're just do not cash flow, and you'd have to sell on a wrap. And so I don't know. I guess just trying to see who's dealt with that plethora of all of these things combined, because there's like a lot of opportunity here, but it's just like, can it be done or cannot be done? I mean, I'm sure it can be done, but what are the pros and the cons and stuff that come from that, basically?
Oh, that's a good question. What are the pros and cons? That's a tough one. So,
like, I'll give you an example, right? Let's say I get a house up to,
Mhm.
and it's an FHA, whether it has FHA down payment assistance or not. It's just FHA, and it doesn't long-term rent. So then I can sell it on a wrap. I personally would say, like, all right, well, any other state, I would buy. I'll take over sub 2, and then I'm gonna go ahead and sell it on a wrap on a contract for deed or an executory contract. So if that loan does get called due or something happens in the middle, then I'm still involved in the deal, and I can help the seller and the buyer deal with that situation while at the same time monetizing, right? Getting that arbitrage from the cash flow. And so I guess the cons or like the pros is that, right? Like you stay in the deal, you get cash flow and all that. But the cons kind of are like, obviously, all right, let's say that the note does get called due and the bank doesn't want to hear it, and now you gotta figure it out, having those moving parts of like, okay, now I gotta deal with the seller and the buyer, let them know so they can understand that, hey, we're gonna have to deed this property back. We're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to do that. How do you get everybody on board? I don't know. Just I see that as a con, right? Like as a man, that could turn into potentially a nightmare dealing with. So it's like, do you just walk away from that, or you just pull through it?
Yeah, no, 100%. So I mean, for the most part, if you can try to pull through it, right? But that's part of it, man.
That's just part of real estate, right?
When you're doing sub 2, especially if you're moving on the wrap, that's why I'm not like, it's tough, dude. So like if you're doing sub 2 on a wrap, it kind of puts you in a little bit of an awkward position, because if something like that happens, like, one, you're gonna look like a bad guy, but two, yeah, you just fell in default. You fall back on that performance agreement, and the property does get deeded back. So it's like, man, like what do you do to get everybody on board, right? So like, because that was kind of the question you had asked. It's just all about transparency. I mean, you gotta be transparent with the seller, because at this point in time, it's not necessarily the person that's in the property that you need to be transparent with. It's the seller that you really need to be transparent with.
Right.
And now it's you and the seller trying to get this person out of the property now, right? Because if that property, well, it depends on the situation. If you put it on or put the wrap on it, or whoever it is you wrapped it to, if they fall behind on their payments and they default, then it's you and the seller working. Just get them out of the property. But if they didn't default and it's just the lender, well, yeah, that's right. If the, where was it going? Where was it going? If they didn't default on it, and the lender is calling like they're doing sell clause, that puts you in a really tough spot. So, hell, I don't know. I don't even know what the hell I would do. I know.
And that's kind of my dilemma, right? Because it's like, all right, I'm shifting over to direct to agent, but most of the properties that like me, I personally, I know it happens all the time, right? But I personally don't feel comfortable wholesaling a sub 2 deal that does not long-term rent, right? That does not cash flow long-term, where you're just gonna have to say it on a wrap, sell it on a wrap to someone, right? And not stay in the middle, because it's like, all right, if something does happen, they default or whatever, like I'm the one that did the deal with the seller. I want to make sure that the seller is taken care of, right? I don't know I mean, I guess if you know the person you're wholesaling this to, like maybe they're a savvy investor, they've been doing this for a while or whatever, and there's that, like, all right, I trust you, I know you know what you're doing. That's one thing, right? But for the most part, everything could be good, right now, and then 5 years later something happens, but you're not part of that deal. They're gonna call you because you're the one that closed that deal, right? You're the one that they think that they sold it to. I mean, yeah, I know disclosure's there, but
Yeah,
it's
so
my
for
dilemma in that aspect.
in that scenario right there, man. First off, if you're doing if you're doing a sub two and you're assigning it, you need to be very direct with the seller. Like, hey, I'm not buying this property. I'm actually going to assign my equitable interest to John. John is going to be the guy buying the property, and you want to make sure that you sure as shit introduce both of them to each other. You
Hmm.
want to introduce both of them to each other because they both need to be on the same page. Um, and when you're talking to a seller, when you're doing sub two, it's all about transparency. You've got to talk about the pros and the cons of doing both, right? So if you wholesale the deal to John, John puts a tenant in place, and that tenant is now paying the mortgage plus whatever it is that they're paying John, so John can cash flow the property. But they start defaulting. Well, it actually benefits the seller more than anything. Like, let's say in your example, it was 5 years before they defaulted, right? Well, now that they defaulted, they're behind on their performance agreement, and because they're behind on their performance agreement, that deed will get deeded back to the seller. That's like best case scenario for anybody. Personally, like if I had to sell my house, I would have to sell it sub two. Otherwise, I'd have to bring cash to close. I don't want to do that, right? And if I'm able to sell it, have a performance agreement put in place, and then 5 years later, that person who was in it defaults, I'd be cool. I'd be fucking like ecstatic because they just paid 5 years of my fucking mortgage down.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that.
That's
Problem is, a lot of these sellers, they don't think like us. Like, I've had this conversation with people where I tell them, like, I mean, your worst case scenario is actually your best case scenario, and it's like, well, no, it's not, because I don't want the property back. I don't want to do anything. I'm like, well, you can resell it. I was like, I don't care. I don't want it back. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying. There's some people that are still like saying,
like, if that's the case, then sub two is probably not in their best interest.
Mhm.
If seller tells me that, I wouldn't even pitch them sub two.
Or John, like if John stays, that's what I mean. I mean, like if I were in John's place, then okay, the tenant or wrap buyer defaults. I'm it's my fiduciary duty to make sure that at least the existing mortgage is getting paid, right? I'm in the middle because I
And
want to make
again,
sure that this is done right, and then I'm gonna take the property away from the homestead buyer.
so
That's another benefit of staying in the middle, basically, is what I'm saying.
in that case, I wouldn't see that as a benefit though. I get where you're coming from, but I wouldn't really see it as a benefit because one, if you're not licensed, you don't have a fiduciary duty. You only have a fiduciary duty if you're licensed in the state of Texas.
No. I know. I'm just wording it as in like, um,
You just want to do the right
it's the
thing.
right thing to do. You know what I mean? Now, but that's why I'm saying, like, if I stay in the middle in second lien position and I sell it to a wrap buyer, if the wrap buyer defaults, then I'm gonna foreclose on the wrap buyer, and then I'll get another wrap buyer. But my whole thing is like, if I don't stay in the middle and I do get these type of deals and I wholesale them, you know what I mean? I guess that's my worry, where I'm like, yeah, most of the deals here in Texas do not cash flow long term rental wise, and I don't know about wholesaling them to people that I don't know. And I get to disclose, but I was just wondering if you ran into situations like that.
No, I haven't. And the reason I haven't is because I take myself out of the equation.
Yeah.
So if I wholesale a deal, like that's out of my
Yeah.
hands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to stress myself out about it or worry about it. Now, if the seller comes for me for advice, I'll give them advice. But if I'm transparent about the entire thing, the entire thing, and I'm very transparent about the pros and the cons with the seller. If I introduce the seller to the end investor, bring them together, everybody's on the same board, we sit down and have a little, I guess, conference call or meeting together, then I won't feel bad. I would not feel bad. Um, I wouldn't feel bad about the situation because I did everything in my power to the best of my ability to ensure that
disclose it.
everybody's on the same page, right?
Yeah.
So at that point in time, the seller understands the risks that are involved. The buyer understands the risks that are involved. And so if they're both okay with taking that risk and they were aware of the potential hazards or the potential um, cons that could potentially pop up, I wouldn't feel bad. Like, would not feel bad about it because I fully disclosed everything, brought
Mhm.
everything to the table, introduced everybody to everybody that needs to be introduced to. Um, and I mean, if the seller came back and needed help, I'd offer them advice. But
Right.
the best thing I'd tell them is like, look, just they paid X amount of, X amount down on your mortgage. If I were you, I'll say Brenda. If I were you, Brenda, I mean, really, I would just sell the property. You have the deed back. Just sell it.
Hmm.
You takes everything away. You don't have to worry about any of this. Just sell it. And if you need to do a cash deal, sell it to an investor. Sell it to an investor for cash, right? Or if you want to get the absolute most for it, and you got a little bit of time, list it. But at the end of the day, that's what I would do. Just advise them to sell the property, because you're not doing them a disservice. You're actually helping them, and you're helping them one because you help bring down their principal payment on their mortgage, right? So that's how you're helping them there. Two, let's say somebody does pay it for 5 years before they default. Well, when that deed gets back to them again, they get 5 years of equity twice. They double dip. They double dip because they got 5 years paid down on the principal balance, and they also get 5 years of appreciation. Properties appreciate 5% year over year. So they just double dipped in equity, right? Now, if they sell that property, they're going to have a lot more in their pockets than what they would have before. So realistically, if you break it down and explain it in that way, you're actually doing them a big service. You're making them more money. You save them money over a 5 year period of time. If their mortgage is $1,500, man, what's 1,500 times 12 times 5? It's like 60 grand, probably somewhere around there, right? That's a lot of money added up and accumulated over a period of time. Boone, I love it. Are you going to do the math? I love it. But you're helping them save that amount of money. They build that equity, and then you get the equity from the appreciation. So you save
90.
them 90 grand. You
Mhm.
just saved them $90,000. $90,000. But you also made them $90,000 plus the appreciation. So that's easily 100 grand in their pocket like that. Right? So really you'd be doing them service.
Yeah.
That's why I wouldn't feel bad about it, man. Because it's true. Like it's not there's no fluff to it. There's really no downside. There's really
As
no
long as you
downside.
disclose.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
long as you disclose it, there's really no downside to it. And on top of that, again, bro, like to sum it all up, in that scenario, the seller's winning. You just put like 6 figures in their pocket. Can you imagine them making 6 figures in like 40 days?
Hmm.
They go bananas, right? So you really helped them out. And you really did a service for them. You saved them $90,000 over a 5 year period of time. Now they get over 100K. Well, they'll profit over $100,000 when they sell this house. So you just did them a huge favor. I'd be, man, that'd be perfect for me, dude. My mortgage is $1,500. If that happened in 5 years, that's 90 grand plus the appreciation. Let's go, bro.
Hmm.
Let's go. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that kind of answer that?
Yeah. 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 Thank you, man.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So, but don't ever feel obligated. I mean, I love where your heart's at, dude. I really love where your heart is at because you want to do the right thing. Absolutely. But you can also advise them, like, hey, this is everything that's going. Just like how I just pointed or painted the picture, right? Like, this is the reality of it. And then you help them sell that property, dude, you're doing them a huge favor. You're
Yeah.
keeping their best interests at heart. You made them tons of money. You allowed them to double dip in the property, which is great. And then on top of that, chances are the property is going to be in a hell of a lot better, you know, um, condition than what it was when they sold it, or
Right.
than what it was when I guess you have bought it, or the rat buyer bought it, or the buyer bought it.
Yeah.
So they got a property in a better condition, and they got all that money tied to it. Perfect. So, but I would definitely encourage taking yourself out of that equation as much as possible. Otherwise, you're going to be stressing your hair or stressing your hair. You're going to be stressing yourself out, pulling your hair out, worrying about it night and day for every single body that you try to help in that situation. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and I think in my head it was like I know, okay, either you disclose it and all that, and then potential something happens in the future or whatever. But again, that's just mindset, right? Like I can't base everything off of what ifs, or two, just don't do them at all, right? And I guess that'll be just a choice that we need to do, right? But yeah, it was just one of those deals because it's like, man, most of the houses that I'm seeing here that are listed MLS flow equity, they're kind of in that area of not cash flowing or not cash flowing enough after you take out all the capex, vacancy management, all that stuff, and it's like, all right, well, what do you do? I mean, you can make a deal out of it. But then it goes back into my mindset of like, yeah, but I don't know if I trust somebody to, you know, do these sellers right and wrong. But so it's going to be either that, right? I either decide to move forward with it and disclose, or just not do it at all.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, and even then, man, the properties that you're looking at for, or you're looking for on the MLS, if you're looking for a particular criteria, I don't know, like let's say 2000 year built up, um, then vast majority of times they're going to have a mortgage on the property right off the bat, right? And so you know for a fact that one, they're probably not going to be free and clear. They may have a little bit of equity, but oof, like you could do a sub two, you could do a hybrid, cool, but is that really going to be in their best interest, right? And so you also want to look at like, I wouldn't run your search based off of that sort of criteria either, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hell, I would look at properties that have expired on the MLS. I would look at properties that have over 100 days, right? That are distressed. Okay. In the MLS, I don't know if you could do this in Privy or PropStream or Propelio, but in the MLS, you can type in keywords that pop up in the description that the agent puts, right? So one of my favorite keywords is investor. It's one of my favorite keywords because it pulls up all the listings that have the keyword investor in it. And there's a reason the agent mentions investor, right? Because it's an investment property. So when you're looking at properties on the MLS, you don't necessarily have to look just for sub two or just for seller finance.
Mm-hmm.
For everything, look for cash, look for sub two,
Yeah.
look for seller finance, look for all of it. But don't limit yourself on that. The way to look at like these different entry strategies, because that's all sub two is, it's all seller finances, it's all cash is, it's just an entry strategy. The best way to look at these or to look at this is tools. The more tools you have on your tool belt, the more you can do, right? But it doesn't mean that that's going to be the best solution. That's where it comes down to like listening to what is really going on into the seller's world. What is really going to be best for them? They may have a mortgage on the property, yeah, but if they've got enough equity in that property to sell it cash and still cover the mortgage and walk away with money in their pocket, why not do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or let's say they've got a property free and clear, but they're asking retail when the property needs work. Great. Well, I mean, I can give you retail, but I have to buy this on terms. How do you feel about that? Right? Do you like, based off of everything that you and I talked about, Daniel, like I know this is what you want for the property, but man, the only way I could do this if I'm able to buy this on terms. I guess, how do you feel about that? Oh yeah, well I don't want to buy on terms. I want to buy it, I don't want to buy, I don't want to sell on terms. I want to sell it and get cash for it. No, and I totally understand. I don't think, based off the conversation you and I have had, I really don't think seller finance is going to be in your best interest. But if that's the price that you're stuck at, I really don't think I'll be the best buyer for you. Have you thought about listing it on the market? Right? So you want to figure out what is really in their best interest, if that makes sense.
Right. I like it.
Yeah, man. So, um, sometimes it could be, sometimes it can be. Like I'll give you an example. There was a couple. They had a property in, oh my gosh, Keller. I think it was in Keller. Went to the appointment, man. Walked the property, cool. Sat down with him, just had a really in-depth, serious conversation. The whole reason that they're selling it is because their daughter-in-law had passed, and they wanted to move out state to go support their son. Love it, but um, the cash offer just didn't make sense because the house is beautiful, dude. It was a beautiful house, and I told him like, look, I really don't want to give you this offer because if I show you how this like, and I broke it down to him. I was like, but if I tell you like what a cash offer is going to look like, I feel like I'm just going to insult you because this is a beautiful home. I was like, honestly, y'all's best interest is probably selling it on the market, but I get that you guys need the cash now, and y'all just want to kind of like move on and help your son go do that. I get that. But I can tell you now, like cash is probably not going to be best for y'all. And so I broke down why. I was like, however, have you guys considered selling this on terms? Because they under pretty clear. And they're like, well, what do you mean? So I broke it down. And I broke the whole thing down. I was like, this is how much cash you guys can get up front. This is what we could essentially pay for the property. And this is what your monthly payment's going to look like over a period of time. Now they were up in their 80s, man. Like they're up in age. And so they're like, yeah, well, I don't think I'm gonna be around for 30 years. I was like, no, and I totally understand that. I was like, well, you remember earlier in the conversation when you had mentioned like at the end of the day, like y'all really want to make sure that the proceeds from here not only cover y'all's cost of living, but it's also going to help your son as well. And they're like, yeah. So okay. Well, when you created a promissory note, that note will get passed down to your heirs. So when y'all pass, this property doesn't have to go through the probate process, and it doesn't take the 12 to 18 months to clear. It's just a piece of paper that gets moved down, and they start collecting those monthly checks residually for X amount of years. And if we balloon this, let's say we do a balloon of 15 years, basically what that means is, well, 15 years is up, we would pay the lump sum as far as what is left on the payment that we owe you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the case y'all are to pass, that lump sum is going to go straight to your son. So he's going to cash flow and make all this money that's going to help him additionally with him and his family, his kiddos. But then he's going to get the lump sum at the end of the term. How do you guys feel about that? Would that help y'all? They're like, yeah, like that would really help out. Like they loved it, man. They loved seller finance. It worked out for them, and we did. We locked it up, seller finance. Locked it up, seller finance, dude.
Yeah.
It was a super, super, super sweet couple, dude. Super sweet couple. But you can only determine what's really in their best interest just by listening to what they got going on.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm excited to see how one plays out with the agent involved. That's the only mindset issue I got still, because I haven't seen one play out with an agent involved.
Yeah, it's a little bit more tough with agents depending on the agent. That's why I call them unicorn agents, right? Unicorn agents, they're rare. These are agents that are actually investor friendly and they're investor savvy, so they get it.
Yeah.
Like if you could find an agent that is a unicorn agent to work with, they'll work with you all day long.
Yeah. No, and I guess it's just like when you're dealing with sellers, it's easy to maneuver through all of these issues that you run across because there's always something. Like there's always something once you open escrow, something always pops up. You deal with it, but again, I let my mindset because I haven't dealt with it yet. and I'm thinking on it like, all right, what's gonna happen when I run into these issues? And we know the solutions for it, but agents being agents, they might not know, they might not experience something before, whatever, and then that's when I don't know how a reaction would be on their end. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh no, we're not doing that. If I'm like, for example, the FHA deal, if I say, all right, well, in the case that this happens, we're gonna do one of 3 or 4 things. We'll transfer this back. I'll get it back on a contract for deed or lease option or something. And then I don't know if the agents are gonna be like, whoa, wait a minute. Like what? You know what I mean? Those are the things that I'm like.
Because they believe what they're doing is keeping their best interest in the client in the forefront. But their belief of what the best interest of the client is not really, or may not be really, in the best interest of the client. So they may be getting in the way. So a good way to break it down and explain this stuff to agents is to put them in the shoes of the seller. Put them in the shoes of the seller. Right? When you're explaining this, explain it to them as if they themselves would sell it. So, for example, like, so if I asked you, like, you're the agent, right? And I was like, Dana, are you familiar? I'm just out of curiosity. Are you familiar with like buying a property subject to the mortgage in place? And if you're not a unicorn agent, most agents are gonna be like, what the hell is that? Or what is that? It's like, okay, so imagine with me, or let's pretend that you're a seller or you have a house, or that you're selling your house, right? And then put them in their shoes. Break it down that way and talk to them like they're the seller. Because if you can do it like that, they'll have a better understanding. If you can do it like that and you can win them over on that pretend play or that motion, they're going to be more keen, one, to understanding what the hell it is, and two, they're going to be more keen on understanding it from a seller's standpoint and seeing it as actually being beneficial to their client. Does that make sense? So that's how I would go about that.
Good point.
Yeah, that's how I would go about that. But yeah, I think the biggest thing when talking with agents is, I would say the biggest hurdle when talking with agents is their lack of understanding and their lack of knowledge in this industry. Real estate, a lot of real estate agents think that just because they went to real estate school and got their license, they're hot shit.
Yeah.
But it's like, nah, dude, like, there's a lot you've got to learn. There's a lot to learn in this industry. So I think that's probably like the biggest roadblock when talking with agents is just their lack of information, their lack of knowledge, and their lack of experience. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. I have a friend who's an agent. I've known her since we were in elementary, and just recently, I had spoke to her before, and tried to have her work with me as well and all that. But she was also fairly new as an agent, so she works under a broker, and I got to talk to the broker at one point when I first started pitching all this to her, and the broker got on the phone with me. And it was more of the broker just trying to feel me out, I think, because she just asked me some questions. Now the broker, she's got a very successful brokerage, but I could tell that she didn't really know what she was talking about whenever she was asking me the questions, right? I could just tell, right? And so, obviously I didn't want to insult her or anything like that, but I was just kind of going along with her stuff. But it was like she was kind of interrogating me. Then afterwards, we didn't speak much or anything like that. But now that I'm back in Texas and I spoke with my friend again, she was telling me, she was like, yeah, at first, her boss, her broker was like, he was like, oh yeah, most of the stuff that those people bring, they're like scams and things like that, right? I mean, she was like, but I know you, and I know you're not like that or anything, but I just don't understand it, so I didn't, whatever. Well, now she had brought a lead. Well, she's brought several leads where she's like, but the first one that she was brought, it was like a cousin of hers or somebody, right? and it wasn't something that I could have done anything with. But going back to what you were saying, like what is best for the seller, right? And that's where I went at. And I was like, well, in this situation, like he's got better options than me, honestly. Like he could do this, he could do that. And so I guess that kind of like flipped a switch in her, and she was just like, oh, wait a minute, and then she brings another one, and she said, well, what do you think about this one and this and that? And then I broke it down for her, why it wouldn't work with us, why it would work for us, or how it would work for us, why it doesn't work for the seller. And then breaking it down, that she was starting to be able to see, like, oh, okay, I see what you guys are doing here. You know what I mean? And so eventually now her boss came around, and just yesterday she called me. I told Mariella about it. Like she's been like just sending me things that are not something that'll work for us, but now they kind of cut the itch. Like everything they get, they're like trying to like, hey, is this something you guys can do with? Is this something you guys can do something with? But it's interesting because when I had spoken to her, I asked her like, hey, what made you like now want to try to like work with us and stuff? And she was like, well, I've realized there's a lot we don't know, like, and she's like, and I'll be completely honest, like it took me 2 to 3 weeks to be able to get licensed, and obviously you pick up a lot more things as you're going through them, but I really didn't know there was all these different things that you can do to make transactions work. And she was just so amazed by it. She was like there's so many, like I don't understand how people go through short sales and foreclosures knowing that there's all these other options, and so I was kind of pitching to her like, well, that's the whole point, right? You guys becoming unicorn agents and being able to like, hey, there is a solution for you. It's not traditional, but there is a solution for you. So it's just interesting, if agents were able to just flip that switch and just kind of be open-minded on how all these things work, it'd be a good thing.
Oh, dude, 100%. And I guarantee you they'd make a lot more commissions and they'd make a lot more money on a yearly
Money
basis.
too, yeah.
So, um, that's what I'm saying. Like the more tools you have on the tool belt, the more you can the more ways you could look at a deal to make it work, right? The more options you have, the more probability you have to get that deal closed. So I think it's kind of silly that agents actually don't educate themselves on investing. Like it just blows my mind. You're an agent in real estate and you're not diving into real estate investing. It blows my mind. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
But you hit something there that I want to touch on. So you had mentioned that like when you pulled away, when you detached yourself from that sell, from the first deal that she had brought you, it triggered something in her, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you detach yourself from
And the broker was on the line. Like they both brought that, and they
that's even better, bro.
And I think that's when the broker was like, "Oh, wait a minute."
Yeah, I love that. So yeah, when you detach yourself from a sell, man, it's a big difference, right? Because it's like, man, maybe this guy isn't scamming us.
Mm-hmm.
It changes their whole paradigm. It's a whole different reaction.
That's what she said. The broker literally said, she said, "Oh," she went like that. She's like, "Oh," and then she said, "I had you all figured out wrong." That's what she told me.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm like, I didn't even ask her like for her to elaborate on that, and I was just like, yeah. But yeah, she was just very surprised that, because I said, no, it sounds to me like there's more, like he's not telling you everything. There's more to it. He might not have to, go through this. Like he might not even need me. Like honestly, I might not be the best solution for him in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's awesome. And it's funny you touched on that because I don't even think you realize what you did, but that's actually a sales tactic.
Yeah.
It's called a pull away.
Mm-hmm.
Called a pull away. So when you can detach yourself from a sell and be okay with walking away from it, cool, dude. That's something I tell, like when I do direct to seller, that's something I mention. Like, you'd be like, Daniel, like I guess at the end of the call, if you feel this is something that I guess maybe the answer for you, then we could, discuss possible next steps. But even if it's not, and you still have questions, I'd love to help you out any way I can, even if it's just answering a question here and there. So if I can do that for you, I guess would that be a little bit more beneficial? Yeah, 100%. Perfect. Well, so one, you take yourself out of the equation. You're detaching yourself from the cell. Two, you're doing a pull away method. I'm not even sure if this is going to work between us, but even if it doesn't, I'd still be willing to help you. Right? So it's like, damn, like, shit. Okay. Well, that's not something I'm used to. Right? So you're putting yourself on a higher essential, a higher level. You're putting yourself in a higher authority position without even doing it. So that's killer that you did that, man. So yeah, hats off to you, bro. But yeah, cool. I know we covered a lot, y'all. Is there any other questions? Boone, Savannah, Mariela, y'all got anything?
Yes, I have one. When it comes to windows, because you said that's something we need to look at, because I never even thought about it. How do we know, like, what's a base amount to use? I know that would be a big ticket item, right?
No, not really. I mean, it can be.
But I mean, like, how would we judge it if do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
let's say it's a 1,500 square foot, and it's basically all cosmetic, but we do, like, the windows will need to be done.
I would probably budget $4,500, $45 to about $5,000.
Okay.
Yep. So.
And why, like, how would you determine if it, like, how much more it'd be, like, if it's a 2-story per se, or something like that?
I would say per unit. So, like, if you're looking at it per unit, or not per unit, but per window. If you're looking at per window, I don't know what I would put that as far as price per window. I don't know. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't consider it a high ticket item. Yeah, I wouldn't consider it a high ticket item. I think even if it was a 2-story and it was 1,500 square foot, let's say it's got like 10 windows or 12 windows throughout the entire property, I'd still budget maybe $7,500 for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's for pretty cheap windows, though, isn't it? Maybe the market's different down here than where I'm from. I thought it was typically $1,000 a window.
Oh, yeah, definitely not over here.
That's install and everything.
That's for the double hung, the double pane, the double ones.
Pane.
But the single panes are like, $400, $500 each, $200 or $500 each, depending on the type.
Yeah.
I think your best bet, Savannah, would be to I can send you a cost estimator sheet, but then you would have to it works great. All you have to do is update it. I mean, you're supposed to update it like every year. You're supposed to talk to look at different shop. I mean, Home Depot, whatever, or talk to different contractors and then update your price per square feet and all that. Like, you can literally send that form to somebody and just pay them $100, $150. Like, hey, would you be able to update this for me? That might be able to help.
Okay. But like on a 1,500, just say like 5,000.
Yeah, I'll tell you what they charge me.
Well, I would say that'd be safe. I wouldn't say that'd be that crazy. So, yeah, I wouldn't consider windows like a high ticket item. And very seldomly will they ever really be replaced too. So, the only time they're really going to be replaced is if you've got a property that's like in the early 1900s and the windows are fucking original. Those got to go. 100%. Those have to go.
How much, when you talk about unicorn agents, how much do they usually? So if they're doing working with investors, how much do they normally make per
deal?
Yeah.
It depends, man. So it depends on several things. One, it depends on what kind of agent it is. If it's a seller's agent, typically about 3%, but that's recovered by the seller upon closing. Yeah, that's not bad at all. 13 windows for $3,200. Let's go. Yeah, it's gonna depend, man. So if it's a seller, actually, if it's a seller or even a buyer's agent that's involved, at the end of the day, the listing, if it's listed, the listing agreement that is in place requires the seller to cover the agent commissions. So at the end of the day, the agents are going to be paid from the proceeds of the sale. But usually you're in Texas, at least you're looking at about 6%, 3% going both sides, and that's pretty average. But I've seen stuff where it's listed at, or I've seen it where commissions have been 2% per side. I've been paid 2%. I've seen it to where the seller's agent is 0% and the buyer's agent is 2%. So it just depends overall on how it's negotiated with the seller and what that's agreed upon. But if you're doing like a referral type of program, and a referral program is essentially like John's an agent. Hey, John, you know, I guess if you bring me any kind of off-market properties, I'll pay you X amount of money per deal. If you just bring it to me as direct the seller and just let me run with it, right? You don't have to represent me, but if you want to, like, you're welcome to, and that could be 3% paid from the seller. But if you're doing a referral program or referral percentage, it just depends on what you negotiate and what you're willing to pay them. So I guess does that kind of answer that question? Uh-oh. Boone, did we lose you?
He's frozen like Mariella was. Mariella, you were frozen like this, like for the longest.
Okay. Well, dang. Dang it.
So is Darion on my screen. Darion's like this. Yeah, there he goes.
That's funny. Oh, dang it. I hate when I do that.
There he is. It's just he's on a different one now instead of that one.
Did mine disconnect?
Shoot.
Which one?
There you go.
Oh, there it is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, did that I guess answer your question for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool. There we go. Cool beans. Anything else? Y'all have any other questions? Mariella, you got any questions?
I'm good.
There you go. Savannah, any
I'm
other
learning.
questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Sweet. Okay, cool. I got a question for you guys. Feedback. How's everything?
I love it, man. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is good stuff because you actually deep dive in answering everyone's questions. You know what I mean? So you don't get that a lot. It's good.
You're actually teaching
Yes.
and you're actually helping. And that is that's a big thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anything we can do for you, let us know.
That's why if I get to sit on these things all day long and help you out to do whatever you do, yeah, you just let me know.
Sweet. Yeah. I guess a huge favor, I guess, would be sharing it, bringing other people on, inviting more people. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right, y'all. Well, that pretty much wraps up today. So.
All right.
Thanks for your time, Darion. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Peace.
Later.